You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Hey, this is Nika Montfort, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
Yo, this is Terrence Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And welcome to the Snob OS show, the show for Apple snobs where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back, everybody, to a fresh new week of the Snob OS show. Terrence and I are both back in the building, getting back into our normal rhythm after about a month of traveling between the both of us. So we're definitely glad to be back with you, and we're definitely glad to have you tuning into the show and giving us your continued support. Also take note, you can head on over to patreon.com/snoboscast to get all the details on how to become an exclusive member of the Snob OS show, so you can watch the show live and get access to some exclusive content. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into this week's show. We're going to kick it off with the Lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. So we are about a month out from WWDC, which is the Worldwide Developer Conference that Apple puts on every June. And it's a big event. It's very much software focused. Back in the day, it was a huge in-person event. Since COVID, things have kind of slimmed down and they make it a more intimate experience now. And again, in 2024, I was not notified that I was a pick to go to the in-person conference. So if you are a Apple developer through the Apple Developer Program, you had the opportunity to sign up to participate in the in-person event in Cupertino at the Mothership Apple Park. And it's basically if you're an Apple developer, you go and you register, and it's a lottery system. They don't tell you how many people they're going to pick. They don't give you any criteria. They just say it's a lottery. So I presume it's just a randomized type of thing where they just say, okay, we got 100 slots. We got 200 people. Anonymizer, randomizer, pick 100 people, and those are the people who get to go. So this opened on March 26th. It closed the middle of last week, and people who got those lucky golden tickets were started getting notifications on this past Thursday, April 4th. So if you did get one of those lucky tickets, you should be notified now that you are invited to the in-person event. There is a little tiny bit of wiggle room. So if there's someone who won a lottery ticket who could not possibly go, there is a slight chance that you could get an email saying that they have some extra spots or extra spaces. So I would say probably this is the 10th. This started on the 4th. You do have to, if you do get an email saying that you were selected, you have to go in and complete the RSVP and all those types of things. So I would presume by now that all of the extra slots, if there were any, were given out. But June 10th through the 14th is the developer conference. There are online sessions that you can access, so that are free. There are some pre-recorded sessions, but the in-person event where you get to be with Apple engineers, get your hands on some of the software yourself, and go to some of the labs and the sessions in person, which is what most Apple snobs like to do and Apple developers like to do. That's a limited opportunity, and yet again, I did not get an invitation.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you, I assumed you did, but I was going to ask anyway if you had applied. You mentioned about the randomizer and a lottery system. I'm pretty sure some nepotism. I'm pretty sure some homeboy hookups, came. I thought it was
special influencers, I'm sure, special press writers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you mentioned if you can't come, Apple takes care of that versus, say for instance, you got a ticket, or say for instance, I got a ticket and I couldn't come. I couldn't transfer mine to you. I'd have to give it back to Apple, and then
Give it back to Apple.
do it. Okay. All right.
Yep. That's how it goes. One day I'm going to make it there.
Right. Oh, that was fast. Final thing I'm gonna ask, is that just the ticket? That doesn't cover if you got the lottery, you don't get any other expenses, just the entrance.
That's the entrance. Now, if they do have a program for students, where for this year's conference, they are going to take 50 students for a 3-day experience in Apple Park. So they'll get the razzle dazzle, they'll get all the stuff because again, they're students. But for developers, I'm pretty sure look, you guys make enough money, you can work it out yourself. We're giving you the entrance fee to a conference. So, So people, of course, started posting about their wonderful news, saying, hey, this one, I'm reading from an article, 9 to 5 Mac, and Paul Hudson happily put his golden ticket screenshot on there saying that he was able to come in and watch the keynote and go to the sessions action Apple Park and participate in all the other developer activities. So, of course, social media, people start popping out their things saying, hey, I got a ticket, I won, yay me. So that's that. I think this is going to be one of the more interesting conferences because Apple hasn't really spoken out a whole lot on what they plan to do with AI and how they plan to use AI. And I think this is going to be a very AI-centric WWDC as Apple lays out their strategy, at least as much as they want to tell us, on how they plan to use AI in the new OS, in any of their hardware, probably mostly just software. So I think people who are there in person, even if you watch some of the online sessions, because the keynote is always streamed, of course. So we'll get to see what Apple's take is going to be on AI and how they plan to make their mark with AI in their products. So I think it'll be a bit interesting on that front, since Apple has been kind of quiet on what their plans are for AI in the Apple ecosystem. All right. Next up. So many of us were expecting to get an Apple announcement, in March. I know I was expecting to see something from them. Hold on one second. I think something just flipped on my... Okay, it didn't. On my headset. Okay, I think I'm good. All right. So I think many of us were expecting an Apple announcement in March, because typically, that's when iPads come out, or non-iPhone related things, iPads, AirPods, those type of things. But we didn't get anything this year, and we haven't had an iPad. We didn't get any new iPads last year in 2023. We haven't gotten any to date, and we haven't really had a big refresh overhaul of iPad. So the new rumor, and I guess keyword to note, it is rumor, that the new iPads may be announced in May. Of course, take that with a grain of salt. We all know how the rumor mill works, but what the rumor mill is saying, that the biggest thing to be expected from the new, particularly iPad Pros, is that there's going to be a new OLED display for both the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch models. But the thing that a lot of people are talking about is price. That with these new iPads, of course, inflation, everything costs more. But right now, you can get an iPad Pro 11-inch starting at $799 and a 12.9-inch starting at just under $1,100. There were rumors that was expecting the new iPads to start around $1,500 and $1,800 respectively for the different screen size. But the rumor now is it's not going to be quite that much. with the expectation of the new iPads costing about $160 more. So I put the 11 inch screen around $1,000 and the almost 13-inch model just under $1,300. So, do you think we're going to get anything iPad related this
In
year?
May?
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe not just
At
necessarily
all?
May, but at all.
I don't know. I lean on I don't think so, because I'll be honest, I don't know if Apple needs to come out with an OLED iPad screen, because I have both a 11-inch iPad M1 iPad Air, and I have a M1 12.9-inch iPad Pro. The
Mm-hmm.
screens are just fine. The screens are just fine for that size screen. The screens are just fine. I think people want Apple to do OLED simply because Apple can do OLED,
Mm-hmm.
and they look at it as that is the next step as far as an upgrade for an iPad. But that don't necessarily mean Apple's supposed to do it. Um, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. So to answer your question is, I don't believe that Apple will come out with a new iPad anytime soon. It may be around the same time as the iPhones, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think they will. And if they don't, ain't nobody gonna care that much. Well, let me not say that. Consumers won't care. The rumor
Yeah.
mill, the tech sites, they'll all, I can't believe Apple didn't do this. But I
Yeah.
mean, we've had this problem before with Apple saying something and it not happening. So
Yeah.
don't be surprised.
Yeah. And I have to say, I don't know if you saw, I didn't, put a story about it in the show, but Apple is known for one of those companies that has oodles and oodles of money just kind of laying around where they try to do all these kind of things. Apple is known to have a large market cap and a large cash reserve. But for the first time in a really long time, Apple announced layoffs, about 600 to 700 people. I think it's in conjunction with them finally shelving the Apple Car and
Yeah,
probably
that makes sense.
throwing some other things in with that. But for Apple to actually do and announce a
Officially.
layoff, an official layoff of 600, 700 people, that signals to me that they are trying to trim where they
Mm-hmm.
can and
Mm-hmm.
not do anything that they don't necessarily have to do. And as much as I want a new iPad Pro, I have to agree with you. An OLED screen is not some sort of, to me, game changer that's
Right.
going to change the face or have some huge impact on the tablet market, where Apple must just come out with something. I mean, they didn't come out with any refresh last year. So what's the difference if it's 2 years that they don't come out with anything new? So I think time will tell if they do. And honestly, I think at this point, if they do have a new release of iPads, I think it's going to be a press release and new products on the website and in the app store to purchase. I don't think they're going to make a huge deal about it. I think if they do anything that would make it a huge deal, if maybe we got some new AirPod Maxes or AirPod Pros 3. But to me, those are accessories, and I would not be surprised if they didn't do maybe a splashy little video and put a press release on the website and say, here's the new stuff. If you want it, go take a stab at it.
Yep.
I think they're really focusing, to me, it seems, on the software side of things and getting whatever they plan on doing with Siri and AI and any new software that they're going to put out. The new iOS, the new iPhone that'll be out in the fall. I think they're probably putting their real effort and real money into their flagship type of products, and that's iPhone and that's OS. Speaking of what Apple is putting out to pasture, many people know that I was a huge proponent of the AirPower Mat. And just recently, a video has popped up of the AirPower prototype. And this is the first time we've seen the prototype, but it is the first time we've actually seen a prototype charge a device. So in this particular video that popped up from an account on Twitter called Apple Demo, they show the prototype with 16 coils and it's charging our prototype Apple Watch Series 4. So I think the biggest thing that, people are kind of ooh and on about is we're actually seeing the prototype and the prototype actually working, meaning it's actually charging a piece of hardware. Mm-hmm. The downside being they're saying with this charging the Series 4 Apple Watch is that what Apple pretty much said and what we pretty much assumed, the distribution of the power wasn't working, and even charging just one Series 4 Apple Watch, the Apple Watch itself would heat up and get too hot. Yep. But I saw this pop up and I was like, you know what? I can't not talk about it because everybody knows my love affair with this AirPower Mat and what it was supposed to be and what Apple had promised me it would be. But now we have, some video out in the wild of the Power Mat actually doing what it's supposed to do, which is charge devices. Because if you know, what is it? Is it called? Is it Q? I don't know how you pronounce it. The QI chargers. That you can charge, pretty much any.
I think it's pronounced Qi. I think.
Is it Qi?
Yeah,
I don't know how to. Yeah, we're gonna go with Qi. They aren't regulated to charge Apple Watches. Well,
so they are. They are. Regulated is not the right word. They are equipped to charge iPhones, but the beauty or the potential beauty of the AirPower Mat was when your phone is fully charged, the AirPower Mat would be like, all right, well, I ain't charging this phone no more. I'm gonna take that energy and put it towards the Apple Watch, which on an Apple Watch, the charger for an Apple Watch is kind of like concaved, and it actually has to fit in that little.
It has a groove, a little nook it has to fit in. Yeah.
Which the AirPower Mat doesn't have that. So the AirPower Mat
it's a flat surface. Yeah.
Right. You could just lay it on the flat surface, which no charger out there right now.
Yeah.
You can lay an Apple Watch on that flat surface and charge. The AirPower Mat is going to be able to do that. And like I was mentioning before, when your iPhone is done charging, the AirPower Mat will automatically push that, just redistribute that charge to another device, and then so on and so forth. The Qi chargers don't do that. Now, since then, Apple has put technology specifically, I don't want to say the watch, but I know in the phone, you can go in and change a setting to where once it gets to 80, 90%, 100%, the the iPhone itself will shut down. It won't let you charge anymore. But with the AirPower Mat, that was built into the AirPower Mat, especially if you were doing specifically
3 devices. Because I think you could, initially was supposed to be able to charge up to 3 devices simultaneously.
Right. And some of these Qi chargers do that. They do them just fine. Because I have one. I have the one to where it's got the pole to where you can put standby mode, where you put the my iPhone in there and turn it landscape. And then I can put my watch on the little watch thing that sticks out. And I can put my AirPods on the little flat surface. And it charges them. But it's no one device. It's no one device that just has one flat surface where you can put everything on it. Right.
And charge it.
Right.
And that's what the AirPower Mat was supposed to do.
And it was supposed to do that smart distribution of power thing that it does not do. Or that it don't do anymore because it don't exist.
So they say, I think they're still working on it. Because I think that's one of the things that's going to, quote, niggle at them. That it was one of the things they actually announced, but then had to pull back. I think it's one of those things where it's like, if they ever get the right pieces together make it work, they would.
This is one of the few times where Apple overpromised and underdelivered.
Yeah.
Apple normally does the opposite. They underdeliver and then underpromise and then overdeliver. This one, they shot for the moon, and when they couldn't get everything, they were just like, oh, we're going to scrap it. Now, if they do come out with another one, I would be perfectly fine with paying $150, however much it is, to get an Apple branded desktop charger that does charge all three, but they don't have to do all the fancy stuff. Don't have to do that. Just make it Apple and just put it out. They tried it with the MagSafe, but that was only the 2 devices, right? Come out with a nice, fancy looking desktop nightstand charger, call it Apple, let it charge 3 things. Don't do all the special stuff.
But would it be Apple if they didn't do all the extra stuff? They have to be above and beyond everyone else. They can't be mere mortals like the other companies. And one other article I see that is popped up.
Yeah, I added this
You
one.
want to talk about that?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you all remember, but remember that Travis Scott Astroworld
Astroworld.
Concert festival to where people got injured, and maybe somebody died. I
And
can't
people
remember.
died. It was several people died.
Because the crowd bum rushed the stage, right? So a lot of people were companies, individuals are suing Travis Scott and Astroworld. Surprising to me, Apple has been included in those lawsuits, and I was like,
Why?
what did Apple have to do with Travis Scott and Astroworld festival in the beginning? Well, come to find out, Apple argued its role in planning the concert was limited, and said the company had only agreed to live stream Travis Scott's performance at NRG Park. So basically, since Travis Scott and Astroworld are huge, Apple was like, all right, well, let's see if we can get in on some of that. But they only either provided the hardware or the connectivity to live stream the concert, right? So that's according to Apple, that is Apple's limited role, which you would think, all right, yeah, well, all they're doing is broadcasting the concert. How was that?
Right.
How do they get wrapped up into people bum rushing the stage and
Yeah.
somebody actually losing their lives? Well, the plaintiffs' lawyers objected to Apple's argument, saying that the company's cameras crowded the already packed concert area and contributed to the crowd rush. So basically, what the plaintiffs' lawyers are saying, not only did the security fail, not only did the planning and logistics people fail, but they crammed all of this equipment, whether it be audio and in Apple's case, video equipment. Now, again, I didn't know Apple made cameras. I'm assuming Apple subcontracted a company that provided cameras and broadcasting equipment. But since, again, they're Apple, you go for the big dogs, right?
You go for the money.
Right. They're not going to go after the individual company that actually provided the cameras. They're going to go after the company who subcontract them. So that's what I'm assuming. I just thought it was interesting, wanted to include that because the judge said no to Apple, and Apple has to be included or continue to be included as a defendant in these lawsuits. So I just thought that was interesting that Apple may be held liable for that concert a couple years ago. I'm gonna say it was before COVID, where those people got injured, and like you said, people actually lost their lives because people just bum rushed the stage because Apple's cameras was also in that area to where people could move, apparently.
So that's my thing. That's a little, I won't say surprising, because anytime you have this many defendants,
Of this big
this
name.
many, of these big names, and actual loss of life, that they aren't going to exclude anybody. But my thing is, wouldn't it be up to the event planners who actually put the hardware there? If you're just a supplier
Well, they suing
of
them
the
too.
hardware,
these lawyers, they see that money, and they see Apple, and they see Travis Scott, and they see some other big names was included as well. But they saw those numbers like, yeah, we're gonna go after everybody. I'm just surprised that the judge, maybe what I'm thinking is happening is the judge is like, well, I'm not going to make the decision. I'll let the jury, I'll let the judge who actually hears the case, let them decide if Apple is liable.
who to
I
exclude
ain't doing
and
it.
who
I'm just going to kick the can down the road is what I'm thinking, because I guess you could make
It
a
has
case,
to be.
but then that would, like you mentioned, that would go back to the event planners for actually putting all that stuff in that area. It's not necessarily Apple's job to say, all right, well, this looks whack. We've got all these people, and this looks like a potential issue. So, nah, we're going to put our cameras over here. We ain't listening to y'all. We're going to put our cameras. They went on, like you mentioned, they were going on again, I'm not a party planner. I'm not an event planner. I'm assuming, just all speculation, that Apple was like, oh, okay, where should our cameras go? The event planners, the event organizers, like, put them here. Apple was like, all right,
Okay.
subcontracting company, put them cameras over there. And then that was the
Yeah.
end of that, But again,
Yeah.
we love to sue people, and Apple's a big
Yeah.
name. So of course they're going to get sued.
Sue happy for sure. All right, that is going to wrap up the lowdown. We're going to head on over into Second String, where we talk all other tech. I saw this particular article and I thought it was very, very interesting. So the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, just starting April 10th, which is today, are making broadband internet providers provide quote unquote nutritional labels similar to what the FDA does for our food. It gives you a breakdown on what's in the food, the percentages and all those things. So starting April 10th, broadband companies are going to have to label their services
and all the fees associated,
and all the fees and how it breaks down. So, and basically they modeled these labels.
They look like
they looked at nutritional labels, and they're called like broadband facts. So there are a couple of stipulations. So internet providers with less than 100,000 subscribers, they have actually until October 10th of 2024 to get this in place. But for your larger companies, it starts today, where you have to make sure that you label these things. So
good.
What
because,
do you?
And I have a story just today. Well, earlier for the past month or so, AT&T has been laying fiber in my neighborhood, and just today, the little young kids, the little representatives, doing their solicitation, going through all the doors and telling people, fiber, AT&T fiber is available. Do you want to sign up? Of course, I gave him a hard time because I'm that type of person. I'm just going to give you a hard time. But one of the things I was trying to get the girl, and she was, steadfast, no extra fees. But me, just dealing with broadband companies, dealing with telecom companies, dealing with these companies that will tell you one thing. And then once you get your bill, this fee, that fee, this and the third, and they tell you what it is, but it's not, they tell you the cost, but it's not specific as to what this fee actually
includes.
So yeah. I was grilling this girl today, earlier today. I'm like, yo, I'm going to sign up because I'm interested. I do want faster internet service. I do want fiber because fiber is better than coax.
And that's what I have. I have AT&T fiber. I've had it for a few years now.
Right. I'm like, look, what I don't want to happen is you tell me that all it costs is X amount of dollars, no contract, no extra fees. I'm like, that's the price before the fees and tax. No. After you get done, it's just X amount of dollars. I'm like, I told her straight up. I'm like, look, I do not believe you. I believe that you coming to my door, you're going to tell me everything I need to hear just to get me to sign up. And then as soon as the installer comes, he's going to give me all of these install fees. And as soon as my equipment arrives, I'm going to get all these equipment fees. And then after 2 years, y'all going to run the price back up. Nope, we're not doing any of that. So all that to say, I'm glad that coinciding with my decision to jump to AT&T fiber, I also get this added comfort that AT&T now is going to have to include these broadband facts that let me see exactly how my bill breaks down, because I'm going to be looking at that with a fine tooth comb. And as soon as I see $1,
more if it's $51,
right, more than what she told me, I'm going to chew her out. I'm going to chew AT&T out. I'm going to get everybody. So
yeah, and AT&T already has plenty of issues with the huge data breach that they suffered that I unfortunately was a part of. But that's another thing. But the good thing is my mortgage company had a breach in November. So I already have the alert set up. So I'm already being monitored. So there. So back to the broadband facts. So what internet providers have to provide these labels? Home internet service providers, fixed internet services, and mobile broadband plans. All three of these providers have to provide these labels. So, what is going to be included in these labels in an effort for more transparency from customers to customers from companies? 1, broadband prices. 2, broadband speeds. 3, data allowances, and 4, introductory rates. So these labels have to also include links to the information about the company's network management practices and privacy policy. In addition to that, all that, the 4 things they have to include, the links to the company's website about network managing and privacy policies, they also have to provide a glossary to help customers understand what they are reading. So you can send me all these links of, HB25 fee or whatever the case may be.
What is
you
that?
have to provide a glossary to tell people exactly what that is so that they can make an informed decision. And the FCC is regulating these cable providers for this transparency. So include it in...
And the ability to file a complaint. They've got a website to where consumercomplaints.fcc.gov to where you can go and specifically complain if you reading something incorrectly, or you think that one of these providers are not displaying their labels inaccurately.
Yeah. And now included in all of this, in this announcement, FCC have told internet providers, you have to include total costs for video subscriptions. You have to tell people exactly what you are charging them for. And this is the part, FCC is a governmental agency and they have regulatory rules that they have to put on these companies. And they're basically saying, look, you got to put everything in there, including all these extra fees. You like to ticky-tacky on the end. It's pretty much like Ticketmaster. You start with one price of tickets. By the time you get to the end of it, it's, $200 more. You have to tell people in advance all of these fees, and not only what they mean, what they are, and how you're managing this.
And that's the important part, what they are, because, you go look at your bill right now, they'll show you the fees. But they be
like, what is this?
Right. Definitely don't know what it is, don't know what it's related to, don't know what it goes towards, don't know why. Now with this, they have to break down exactly what this fee is, what it's going towards, and how I'm benefiting or not. And then, like you said, with that, now I can make an informed decision, because if AT&T versus Xfinity versus Spectrum versus whomever
Comcast, whoever,
right now you can actually line item all the different stuff versus just signing up for, like you said, signing up for a price and then have all these extra fees and not know what they are.
And they have to, according to the FCC, they have to clearly state the cost as a single line item. So for everything that they're charging you, it has to be a single line item with the name and the cost, And this is good for the consumer. Finally, we'll get some transparency to an extent when it comes to this.
The only negative I can see is now my cell phone and internet bill is going to look like a CVS receipt.
Yeah. And they're probably hoping people won't
gloss over because it's too much or whatever the case may be.
But there are going to be those people that are like, nope, I want to go through, and I'm going to go through each and every single line and find out what I'm being charged.
I gave that lady such a hard time today. I mean, she was like, oh, you know what? I don't even care if you get it or not. Let me just get out of here. Because I was like, I do not believe you that it's only going to cost X amount of dollars. After, as soon as you leave, as soon as everything's lit up, you're going to hit me over the head and I told her, give me your cell phone number. And I took down her name and cell phone number. It's like, when this stuff, when my bill goes up, I'm going to call you directly and tell you what's up with this, so
yeah, just know that I am that kind of person.
I am.
That is me. I am that guy. So expect to hear from me if stuff starts going a little haywire than what you had originally told me. But again, I think this is again good for the consumer. It is going to get some transparency and allow people who actually care to allow them to make an informed decision of what exactly their end price is going to be and what they get in that end price. What is the megabits and the transmission, the receiving, give people the information, and then they do with what they please. Some people won't care. It's like, I just want fast internet. This is how much it costs. Okay, fine. I'll pay it because I want fast internet. And then you're going to have people that were like, nope, I want to know exactly what each and everything is and how much I'm paying and why I'm paying it. So again, I think this is, to me, thumbs up. The government, you did something positive for the consumer. We appreciate it. All right, that is going to wrap up Second String. Let's head on over into For the Culture, where we talk socially relevant commentary, entertainment, social media, what's going on, the talk of the day, whatever the case may be. And this week, we are going to talk a little March Madness. We just wrapped up the NCAA tournament for basketball for both men and women. It was one for the history books. On the male side of things, the UConn Huskies repeated, which hasn't been done, I want to say 2018. I think I saw something. Don't hold me to it or look it up if I'm wrong.
I don't even watch college sports, so don't ask me.
I mean, yeah. So it was something. It's been a minute since a team has gone back to back in men's NCAA national championship.
But the word on the street is nobody care about the men.
They did not. That's why I talked about the men first to get their stuff out of here, out of the way. Nobody cares. They had a game. Their game was on Monday at like 9:20.
I couldn't even tell you.
Ain't
who
nobody
played.
watching that. Nobody. It was UConn and was it NC State for the men?
Sure.
I think. I don't know.
Sure.
Anyway, UConn won. Back to back, congrats to the men of the University of Connecticut Huskies. Yay for you. Now, what everybody and their mama has been talking about is the women's tournament. You have all these different storylines. You have the Bayou girls from LSU who made a splash last year. You have Caitlin Clark who had the scoring record. Some people contend that she didn't. Some people contend that she did. That's debate for another day. I'm not getting into that because it brings out all the racist trolls when you start to have that conversation. You have NC State on the women's side, who was a dark horse, who made it all the way to the Final Four. You have the UConn from the women's side as well. Gina Oriamo, storied coach, Paige Buckner, who had a really bad injury and she came back. She brought the team to the Final Four. And then you have the queens of all things, the South Carolina Gamecocks, led by Hall of Famer to be, I don't think she's in the Hall of Fame yet, Dawn Staley, who led her team to an undefeated season with a completely new starting five because her team last year went 35-1. Lost to Iowa in the Final Four. She lost her whole starting five to graduation and to the NBA, had to start from scratch. And what did they do? They ran the table, 38-0. Dawn has won two championships in the last 3 seasons and 3 total titles in the last 7 years. She took over a program and she's basically made it a dynasty. The South Carolina women's Gamecocks, their record for the last 3 seasons is 109-3. They have only lost 3 games in 3 years. And, they, again, like I mentioned, they have a whole new starting five coming off the bench. They had 2 freshmen who came in the clutch, scored a ton of points, made a huge impact. And it's one of those things where it was the media, I think the NCAA as well. Yeah. They had one story that they wanted.
Not surprising. And I know you're getting there. Everybody, regardless of all the stuff you just said, all anybody could talk about was Caitlin Clark.
After the Gamecocks won and CNN made a post about South Carolina winning, they didn't even use a photo of the winners. They used a photo of Iowa.
Right.
And this is the second time that the media has, remember last year, current First Lady Joe Biden was like, let's just invite them both after Iowa lost last year.
Right.
And to a predominantly Black team. And again, this year, they lost to a predominantly Black team. And all of the conversation still has been focused on this one particular player instead of this Hall of Fame to be coach and their storied run to the title.
So I mean, of course, there's probably a race element. I mean, that's just natural.
It is.
People gravitate towards what they are familiar with, right?
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark also, she is that talented to where the attention is warranted. That's not the right word. It's worthy. She's worthy.
Earned it. She's earned that attention.
She's earned it, and she is worthy of that attention. Which in turn makes the news media gravitate exponentially towards a singular news story like Caitlin Clark.
Outcome, yeah.
Right. I'm just in general, just how much they were focused on her in general, because the news, the media knows how much the fans, the viewers, the consumers gravitate towards her, similar to Taylor Swift. Again, I'm not taking anything from Taylor Swift. She is a force. Anything she touches is gold. So it makes sense, as much as I disagree or don't like it or poo-poo it. I respect the hustle in the sense that when you have, it's like Beyonce, right? Anything she touches, unfairly to Beyonce, she doesn't even do interviews anymore, because every single word is going to be dissected. Every move she makes is going to be made into something, because they, beyond they
got to find the angle. They got to find the story.
Well, it's not even that. They themselves it's an easy story because they themselves are that great, right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not comparing Taylor Swift to Caitlin Clark to Beyonce. I'm just saying, when a superstar of that magnitude, think of Michael Jackson, think of the Beatles, think of these names that it's just an easy story to just say Michael Jackson's name in a news story, you are guaranteed to get all these views, to get all these watches, to get all these subscriptions. So it's easy. It's an easy story for the media to just gravitate so much towards Caitlin Clark. Again, the negative is, all right, I'm gonna need y'all to do y'all jobs. When when she loses, or when another story also is important, i.e., who actually won the tournament, give them some attention too, right? Yeah. Give them their just due. Now,
their due.
Now, the media did not about face, but did kind of give Dawn Staley her props, and I don't know if they had to plan.
But after they were like,
that's what I was gonna say.
She's secondary.
That's what I was going to say. Was that because they were eventually going to do that, or was they were like, oh, we need to do a little bit of damage control. Let's talk about Dawn Staley, right? Either way, I don't fault Caitlin Clark herself for purposely.
She's a player.
Right. She's talented. She's broken all these records. She's achieved all these things. She's going to make a ton of money in WNBA. She's going to make even more money on endorsements. I'm not taking that away from her at all. I'm just saying the media do a little bit better job and don't go for the low hanging fruit. But I mean, what do you expect from the media? That's what they do.
Someone said, and I think it may be true, I saw someone post this on Twitter. It was like people had already determined what the end was going to be, even though I don't know how they thought a team as talented as South Carolina was going to lose to Iowa. But the thing is, the person posted, they were like, they had all of these Caitlin Clark stories written, and they were like, they didn't prepare for any other outcome.
Right.
So they had to lead with what they had and then go back and write something else to account for what actually happened. And again, I don't blame Caitlin Clark. Who I do blame, her fans and the media. Well, because Complex wrote an article about why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? I'm like, nobody hates that lady. I was like, she's getting all of the benefit, as when you look at Angel Reese, or you look at Camila Cardoza, when you look at Dawn Staley, nobody hates that girl. Nobody. She's getting everything. Even after South Carolina won, the cameras were following her as she walked to the locker room. I'm like, can we look at the winners?
Right.
Can we see the celebration? Can we see the confetti?
Right.
And all they were talking about was Caitlin Clark. And I'm like, the media and her fans are setting this girl up because she is going to make a lot of money. She is going to go to the WNBA. But let me tell you, the WNBA has ballers.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, ballers. So she's good. Is she going to go to a team and have an impact? Sure. But it's way more people.
She's a target now.
Better than her because she is a 20-something-year-old young lady going to play with these veterans who have been in the game. When you think of Olympics, when you think of, their college teams, when you think of championships on their side, they have that experience already. Yeah, and Diana Taurasi has already put a target on that girl. Right. She's like, come on, we are waiting for you. So they're putting her in a situation where she's going to be out there fighting for her life.
Yeah.
Every single game.
And she may not want that. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a superstar. I'm not an icon. But I can also go to the grocery store, and I can also go to the movies with my kids, and I can take my kids on a cruise, and I, again, biased because I don't have superstar status. I don't know. I feel sometimes I feel sorry for people
these kids
because
these are 20.
Well, just in general. I'm just talking about.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about superstars in general, right?
Okay.
Look at, since we're talking about Caitlin Clark. You mentioned how when Iowa lost, all the cameras is focused on her. If I lose, I don't care how good I am. The last thing I want is cameras in my face, and she's going to have to deal with that.
And having to make sure you are putting on the right air, because now you're a role model. You can't curse. You can't be mad. You can't show anger. You have to walk with grace and dignity, even though your heart is crushed and it's just laying out, and they expect these, things from you. And I also saw a conversation about now, because the draft is next week, the 15th. They've already have projections of who they expect to go, and the teams, the Mercury, Indiana, all these other teams are already, Indiana Fever have the number one pick. The assumption is that they're going to take Caitlin Clark because she's the best player coming out.
It'd be crazy.
And so now all of these other teams are publicizing when Indiana's going to come. Already they're like, get these tickets. Yeah. I think of the 40 some odd games that their season has, 36 of Indiana's games are going to be nationally televised. Right. So the question is that someone was asking is, are these people prepared for the security end? Because Angel Reese, they're projecting her to go to the Washington Mystics. She's from Baltimore. So she's a hometown girl. And people are saying they're putting all of these kids' games, these young ladies, don't call them kids, they're young ladies, games between Caitlin Clark. We know Angel Reese is a very polarizing figure as well. You're putting these young ladies front and center, both Caitlin and Angel. You're posting their games. They're going to be televised. They're doing campaigns on selling tickets, which they should, because again, it's all about money, right? But are you going to have the proper protocols around these players? Because as you know, unfortunately or you may not know, in the WNBA, they can't fly on chartered planes. That's a rule. Yeah. Because it's like, well, what about some of the smaller teams who don't have the biggest budget? Maybe somebody's got a really rich a really rich owner. They bought their team a plane. They want to make it a level playing field. So are you going to have extra security on the plane, getting to the plane, getting from the plane, getting to the venue, getting to the hotel, at the venue? So it's all these things with them trying to capitalize on the popularity of these two players, and Camila Cardova, she's coming out as well. So all of these very high profile young women coming into the WNBA Are they prepared? Cameron Brink out of California. Are they prepared to protect these young ladies when they go out? Because again, 20, 21, well, no, you have to 21, 22, 23-year-olds coming
maybe that's
out.
a good
Are they going to
thing.
protect them?
Well, maybe they will start, which is a long time coming. But I mean, never too late, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
maybe they will start to treat their travel a little bit different, treat where they
Yeah.
stay when they're visiting a little different, treat security in the arena a little bit different because
Yeah.
of this reason. Of course, people do what people do.
Right.
We're all reactionary type people, but
Not proactive at all.
I want to believe that they're going to step up their game because of these new people, these new girls, these new young ladies coming into the stardom, which means a lot of money for them and which makes them liable. So
Yeah.
what they don't want to do.
We just talked about Astroworld, right?
Right.
So nobody wants those problems.
Right. So they definitely don't want that, especially it happened to some of these high profile players, and not just players. These are superstars, so
Yeah.
they definitely don't want to be, one of the defendants if something goes wrong.
Yeah. But again, all to say, I'm so excited for women's sports. I'm so glad that they are now getting the attention that they deserve because these women are ballers. And again, the whole March Madness, nope, the men's side was very much an afterthought. Not very many people know the men's players, but trust and believe they know all of the women's superstar players. So it's great for the game. They had the Iowa South Carolina game was the highest rated ESPN ABC sports broadcast of basketball, men's, women's, pro, and college. Since I think of all time, it was the highest for ABC ESPN. So it's one of those things where I am glad that we have come to this point. I hope we keep it going, into the WNBA season, into women's soccer. We're going into the Olympics in a couple of months in Paris. So I really hope that this turns the tide for women's sports to ensure that these players get the proper compensation, proper security, endorsements, acknowledgments, all those good things. So I'm excited to see where it's going with women's sports after this historic, monumental March Madness for women's basketball. So excited about that. That is going to wrap up for the culture. Let's head on over to the hookup for our tech tip of the week.
Yeah, sure. Like I mentioned in our pre-show that only Patreon subscribers will be privy to, we took a trip, my family, we took a cruise, and I do want to do a family cruise tech tip. Nika told me about the Carnival Cruise app. Totally unusable.
Aww,
Did not work,
sad.
was inconsistent, tried to reach, me, my wife, and my two daughters all have devices. Got to pay for the plan up front. And that more than anything enables you to use the app without cellular, using the Wi-Fi that's on the ship to actually communicate back and forth, right? Did not work, was inconsistent, did not work. So my tech tip of the week, if you're going on a cruise with family members and you want to make sure you're staying in contact with them, go to Walmart, go to Target, go to Best buy you some walkie-talkies and clip them to your family members. So therefore you can use, radio frequencies. You don't have to use internet connectivity. You don't have to use Bluetooth. You don't have to use Wi-Fi. Good old fashioned radio waves. Buy you some walkie-talkies so you can communicate with your family. Again, it wasn't that bad. I was just a little disappointed that, technology future. My kids got phones. Ooh, download this app. We can stay in contact. Could not. So again, my tech tip of the week, go low tech. If you're going on a cruise with your family, buy you some walkie-talkies.
Or at least make sure you have a newer ship.
I don't think that would have made
You don't think it was a ship?
So many people with so many devices. It's just crammed.
It overloaded. Yeah. Walkie-talkies, they definitely do the trick as well. Cool. All right. That is going to wrap up the show for this week. Brother Tech, where can the people find you?
Sure. You can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva anywhere you get your internets. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you rocking with us and listen to the show this week. If you want to connect, comment, share, or support our show, you can head on over to snubwestcast.com to get all the details. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for this week. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.